Well, Indianapolis Motor Speedway fans, it's a chance to sit down with another of our NTT IndyCar Series drivers. And this is one I've really been looking forward to because this guy to my right won the 100th running of the Indianapolis 500. But what I'm excited to talking about is you look good in orange.
Papaya.
Papaya. You look good in papaya.
Yes, thank you. It's taking a little bit to get used to. And I think some people don't recognize me at first. But yeah, no, it's obviously new colors for me, a whole new organization, manufacturer. Just can't wait to really get going.
There's a whole bunch of things to talk about right there, but the other thing too, new number.
Yes, new number. In the number 7 Aero McLaren Chevy this year, which is also gonna get some time to get used to. It was funny, like when I sent out my first at Team Chevy tweet a couple months ago, and I had to pause for way too many minutes to make sure that I'm allowed to do this. So it's been a lot of years and a lot of time, obviously, with one organization, and very grateful for all the time that I had with them, but certainly very excited for this new chapter.
Well, you were in that car long enough, and a lot of guys like to get tattoos. You didn't tattoo a number on yourself.
I did not, no.
So you're all good.
Yes,
so,
yes.
So we don't have to worry about
Right.
that. So this has been an interesting offseason.
Mm-hmm.
You've known for a long time that you were going to switch teams. You actually ended really well last year, winning at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We'll talk about it in a minute, which was really cool. But when you make an announcement that you're going to switch, and then given the rules and all, you had to sort of sit all winter until you finally got the test at Thermal, and now you start getting to race. But what do you feel about when you're sitting there? How can you get prepared for a new team and a new manufacturer, all those things?
Yeah, no, it's very difficult because, it's there's already kind of a limited amount of time that you have on track, right? And in our case, the season ended in September. We opted to not do any kind of postseason testing to save our days for in-season stuff. The preseason rules are everyone gets their 3 days. So yeah, it's certainly been a bit of a weird transition phase because it's been a lot of conversations about in theory this or in practice this, and this is what we would do in this situation, but until you actually get on track, you don't really know how it works. But I'm a little bit fortunate in the standpoint that because the team is expanding to 3 cars, there's been a big influx of people coming on board in the first place. So I'm not really the only one that's trying to kind of find their feet and figure out, which person is in charge of what or what way you should go down the hallway or whatever. So it's been a little bit of the first day of school experience, but been thrilled with my time at the team so far, and I'm really excited for the season.
When you look at your team and your teammates and you look at last year's Indianapolis 500, a lot of top 5s and those drivers there. Is that something that gives you a lot of comfort when you transition to a new team, that you've got drivers along with yourself, they're going to compete for wins?
100%. I think that Aero McLaren over the past couple of years, they've gone from kind of being the little team that could, if you will, to being an actual legitimate championship contender and Indy 500 contender every single year. And that's obviously one of the huge reasons that I was attracted to the organization and feel so grateful for the opportunity to continue my career with this new chapter. But as you said, Pato and Felix, their performance speaks for themselves. Obviously having someone like Tony Kanaan come on board as our 4th car for the 500 is, I don't have to say anything about that. He's one of the best to drive at the Speedway. So I think that we have a very, very special group of guys that are gonna be, if we play our cards right, really in the fight at the end of the 500 coming up in May.
So had you had a relationship with any of those drivers previously where you could talk about technical things related to the car, or no?
Not really, no. I knew Pato kind of in passing as kind of just a friendly guy in the paddock type of thing, but really spent no time with Felix prior to coming to the team. And it's very interesting. You have 2 very quick guys, but they go about it in their own individual ways. Pato's someone who, wears his heart on his sleeve and shows his emotions, whereas Felix is maybe a little bit more similar to me and is just focused on driving a car as fast as possible. But what I'm hoping I can do is, having now 7 years, which is crazy to say, 7 years of time in the NTT IndyCar Series, being able to bring some of that knowledge and experience and kind of implement it into the team to hopefully elevate all of us this year.
So you have an awful lot of fun outside of the car too with folks in the paddock. So this new group, obviously TK is pretty good at having fun, but how about the other guys? Are they as much fun as some of the other folks inside the paddock?
I think you'd be surprised. Pato and Felix, they have a really good time with each other, but I'm gonna be able to convince them to help join. I think they'll take the place of what Colton and I did over the past couple of years, and I think Pato, Felix, and I will definitely be able to keep some some childlike entertainment in the bus slot during the month of May.
So you talked about Colton. I know you guys developed a really special relationship. He's never had a teammate without having you there. Will you still be able to kind of be a mentor to him, or is this going to change the way that your relationship will be with him on a different team now?
Yeah, absolutely not. Like he's one of the strongest drivers on the grid. He's someone that, you know, I definitely use as a benchmark, and he's someone that we need to beat every single weekend. So he'll still be someone that, you know, I talk to off track, but certainly it's going to be a different dynamic for us racing each other on track.
So, you know, one of the things I don't think people outside of the car really understand, while when you look at the cars, they're generally the same, and theoretically the engines are the same rules. But a Chevy and a Honda engine, there is a difference in the way that they perform. So that's a mindset change for you as well.
Yeah, 100%. And I think we have a very cool, as a group, you know, Team Chevy has a cool opportunity, you know, with me coming on board with having had so much time and only driving a Honda IndyCar, right? The very first things that I feel out of the Chevy power plant and the way that it drives and feels and sounds and everything that it does, I think I'll be able to have a very clear compare and contrast of, you know, what's better, what's worse. And, you know, I think that's going to help all of the Team Chevy cars hopefully take a step forward. And, you know, that's a step forward coming off of a manufacturer's championship and a driver's championship. So, you know, it's a manufacturer that has a huge amount of success, and I just hope to be able to contribute to that in some small way this year.
So this is probably a question you got tired of answering. You probably don't even want to talk about it, but towards the beginning of last year, maybe even the year before, people started saying Alex hadn't won in a while. He hadn't won. You finally win a race again at Indianapolis on our road course. Is that just nice to just get that behind you so you could quit answering that question? And did you get to a point where you just wanted to push somebody over when they asked you the question?
No, I mean, I was asking myself the question. I mean, it's fair. I think it was nice for two reasons. A, we were able to like put that all behind us, right? We didn't have to talk about it anymore. You know, I think everyone knew that the performance is always good enough to win, but for one reason or another, it wasn't coming to be. And that's sport and life, and that just happens sometimes. It went on a little too long, but still it happens. But the second thing was, you know, that group that was with me on that car, you know, they were with me in the good times, they were with me through the challenging times, and, you know, we all knew that this was, you know, the beginning of the end in terms of, you know, we made our announcement in June, you know, that I was going to be leaving the team and joining Arrow McLaren. And so it was really nice for that group on the 27 car to be able to kind of get one more win working together before, you know, we all went our separate ways.
So I was at Laguna when the Andretti Autosport team all got together with all their sponsors at the night before the race, and you were there, and really heartfelt thank you that you really gave them, because that team really did mean an awful lot to you.
100%. You know, Michael and Brian, you know, gave me an amazing opportunity to kind of reinvent my career in the States and in the NTT IndyCar Series. And obviously what happened in 2016 was a surprise to everyone. But it truly gave me kind of a career path that I'm so thankful that I was able to be presented with. Because for a period of time, you know, doors were closing and I didn't really know what was going to happen. And through the grace of God and the timing with Michael and Brian Herta Autosport merging, you know, I had the fourth car. And like I said, you know, there was some challenging times, but also a lot of really special moments. And Michael and Brian and Rob Edwards and JF and everyone at that organization are still people that I'm fond of, and to a certain extent want to see them succeed, but just a little bit less than us. So it'll be interesting going to the track and competing against them, but certainly very thankful for all that they gave to me.
And you're transitioning from that great core group to another great core group led by Zach and the whole team there, so that's got to be really comforting. You got to get to know new people, but when you look at those people, they're just as strong as the team you came from.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, that was a part of the decision, is knowing that you're going to have this group that is incredibly hungry, they're incredibly motivated because they want to be the next thing in IndyCar, right? And so you've got the mentality of Zach Brown coming as a kind of overarching leader of the entire organizations, from the F1 side to the IndyCar side to what he does on the sports car side. So you've got this like figurehead that's amazing at what he does. You've got Gavin Ward, who has been successful from an F1 engineering standpoint, a software systems guy, an aerodynamicist, race engineer with Joseph, won a championship. So you've got his kind of influence. Brian Barnhart coming with me from Andretti Autosport. So you've got some really incredible leadership that's built into a culture of A, performance, but B, maximizing what people can bring to the table. And whether that's an idea from somewhere way out in left field or something that's right along the lines of our development of what we've been doing, the entire group encourages, a forward-thinking vision and a diverse way of doing things in terms of how we go about each and every weekend, and I think that's a really special thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to ask you a question, maybe a little uncomfortable. It's a fun one as a promoter. Mid-Ohio last year.
Yeah.
Really, really cool opportunity as a promoter to get really excited about that because I love to see the emotion. There's nobody more intense in a race car than you are, and it was clear there at Mid-Ohio. That had to have been a challenging moment for you because you're trying to compete, you've got teammates there, and then it creates that problem when you get out of the car. Talk a little bit about that weekend.
Yeah, it was a wild dynamic that occurred, and it was something that had been, I don't want to say brewing, but like it was going to reach a peak at some point, right? And to this day, there was nothing intentional that occurred with anyone at Mid-Ohio, whether that was me and Roma and Colton, me and Devlin, a lot of Andretti on Andretti action. There was nothing that was malicious, but there was certainly a kind of a divide that happened where, the number one rule in racing is like, you always leave your teammate a little bit of room. And there's always that little bit of margin that you're gonna leave, right? And for one reason or another, that kind of went away. And so it certainly reached a point. There was some very harsh and emotionally driven words that were exchanged after the fact, but hand on heart, my relationship with Roma's relationship with the team, all of us as a unit for the second half of the year actually were in a way better place than we ever were. So it's unfortunate there was a public event that caused that to happen, maybe fortunate from a promoter standpoint, but in a way we actually as a group ended up becoming stronger from it, but certainly it's not something I don't think anyone wants to make a habit of.
Promoters are okay with it, right? I mean, it gives us something to sell.
I don't think team owners are, but
I think it helps us tell the story that when you guys strap in a race car, it's about winning. And
100%.
that is how you progress in your career, and winning is really important. And at some level, doesn't matter if it's a teammate, you got to go past them. Okay, I'm going to ask you a couple more questions, I'll let you go. You and Hinch have a podcast. It's a pretty cool podcast. How much fun is it to just get away from the race car and talk, not just about what's happened on the race weekends, but just talk about racing and life? You guys come up with all kinds of great topics. Have you been having a good time with that?
Yeah, James, through my entire time in IndyCar, but really since the podcast, is probably my best friend in life, whether it's racing or not. And, I think the podcast originally was started with trying to give people an inside look as to who is Alex Rossi. But ultimately what it's become is just showcasing the fact that we as racing drivers, we as news personalities, commentators, whatever, like we are just in the day-to-day life of everyone else and kind of experiencing the ups and downs that everyone else has. And it's just, we want people to realize that, yes, we have a very cool job and we're very lucky to do what we love to do, but ultimately we want to be relatable and we want to share in the same fun and misery that everyone else has in their normal lives.
That's great. Well, there you go, race fans. Our 2016 Indianapolis 500 winner, but more importantly, new car, new manufacturer, new team, and will definitely be a title contender in this year's NTT IndyCar Series.